What is up, guys? It's Mason once again, and today we are covering the round one of the 2024 Chess Olympiad Ghana's Games. I'll be picking 3 to 4 games that were played during the round, and I'll give a general analysis concerning these games, just to give you an awareness of what happened. So don't expect this to go too deep in the analysis, but if you want a deeper analysis, you can always join me on stream, twitch.tv/pen_Mason. Or you can just watch here on YouTube. I'm streaming on both sides. The first day I did a commentary on my own, but tomorrow I'll be streaming with a friend. So I'm sure you enjoy to see it. Now, let's look straight into the games. We are looking at the game between Maud Benson and Berki Anna. The females played against Croatia and the males played against Egypt. Now, we are severely underrated against these guys, so we are hoping for a few upsets, right? So Maud here is playing as white, and she plays surprisingly the Catalan, because I didn't even know she knew the Catalan. So I was thinking it was prep, right? And we get this structure where you could always get this we got this pawn structure, this hanging pawn structure. I mean, we could have got this hanging pawn structure, but her opponent decided against it, because of course if you traded here, we have the hanging pawn structure. Rather, what happened is after bishop to f6, queen goes into g4, defending and holding the pawn in the center here. We have rook to e8, rook a to c1, g6, and here Maud plays knight to f1. Now, seeing knight to f1 was kind of like bringing up questions in my mind. I was wondering, wouldn't you want to, for example, go h4, h5 if you could, and try to stress out your opponent on the king side if possible, right? Those were the kind of ideas that I was thinking of. But here Maud goes knight to f1. Of course, h4 can be played, yes, but then also you can use the weaknesses with the bishop. So, for example, if the rook is to move, the bishop can come in and you can use the weaknesses of the dark squares. If push comes to shove, more or less, we trade off the bishops and then we have an even game. So knight f1 kind of shocked me. And what shocked me more than knight f1 is that after takes, I was thinking we take again and maintain a hanging pawn structure. But then we get this move from Maud, d5. And I was really shocked by this move. Again, I don't know if it's objectively bad. Again, I don't really care so much what the engine says, but you really have to know what you are doing to sacrifice a pawn like this, right? So then we had bishop takes b2, d takes c6. Of course, your queen is under attack, so you don't have enough time to take the rook. We have queen to f6, rook to c2, and then we have c3. So yes, the scary thing is that Black has a pawn on c3, but the good thing for white here is that this bishop is kind of out of the game. It's kind of out of the game. So you can look forward to it that, okay, I'm playing up a piece in a sense, right? So Maud plays queen to a4. Again, this bishop is in a bad location, so she plays queen to a4, targeting the bishop. But then we get queen to f5. Point being, if you take here, I take here, and you have to face problems. So Maud responds by playing knight to e3, attacking the queen and defending the two rooks. And now we have queen to a5. And here Maud played queen takes a5, which is a fine move, it's an okay move. But apparently she had the opportunity here to go queen to h4. Remember what we said, this bishop is no longer in the game, and now your queen and your knight can work together and deal with these squares. Also, you have this move. So for example, if your opponent gets greedy and goes, for example, queen takes here, you have knight to this square, and you could possibly come and check here, win this. If your opponent tries to defend here, you have this. Your rook can come in here to d7 and cause problems for your opponent. So these are the kind of ideas that would literally come to your mind if you have this position. So that's what the engine was expecting from here. But of course, I think queen to h4, maybe you have to be a very strong player to see it. So I personally had no problems with this. And now we have this position here, which is basically where I focused on during the broadcast. And here we're looking at like ways of getting a knight here if possible, or trying something like immediately going here first, targeting this weak a7 pawn and playing the position from there. But Mod goes for, okay, after this, Mod goes for bishop to f1, trying to trade off the bishops, which felt a little bit freaky, right? I think we were looking at, after this, we can simply take here and then maybe cause problems. But maybe she saw something that was scary with the rook coming into the position or something of that sort. And she went for this whole line, takes, and then we get knight to c4. And here I was thinking, okay, now we have an okay game. There's no problem here. If takes, pawn takes here. Again, you are sort of down a pawn, but rook and pawn end games usually, if all the pawns are on one side, it's a drawn position, right? Forget what the engine says. You will easily deal with these guys, and once all the pawns are on one side of the board, it should be an easy draw if you know the technique. But that's not what Mod goes for. Mod instead goes knight takes a4, and I was like, okay, she's going for more. She's going for more. I like that. She's going for more. Not just a simple draw game. Let's go for more. Rook to d1, king to e2, rook to a2. She goes a4. The rook comes to defend the bishop, because of course you are going to try and come in here again. And she goes like king to d3, rook to d1, king goes back, the rook goes back to defend. And here I was like, okay, I would be happy if she went for more. But now she's up a pawn on the queen side. So it's not so easy for your opponent to just do something on your king side. So I was thinking, okay, let's just end it here. Let's just stop whatever is going on here. Play the knight back in, trade off everything, and then end of the game. That's what I was thinking. Maybe I was a little bit naive, because maybe this is a possibility and you don't want this to happen. But Mod goes knight to c7, targeting the loose pawn. The bishop goes back, pawn push. We have here a6, and this is where Mod kind of messed it up. Not kind of, but this is where Mod messed it up. What I wanted Mod to do here is, okay, your opponent isn't really finding something to do, so why not just repeat, right? So after this here, king goes into d3. You come back, she goes back. You can just go back in this way and then get the draw. You easily draw the position. There's nothing to think about here. Mod wanted to go for more. Again, I'm not against it, but again, sometimes, you know. So here I was thinking, okay, this is all good. After a6, maybe you go, for example, like king here. And now your king is joining in the defense of this in the defense of this pawn push, right? So if the king can come in here, you can go pawn push. So that's kind of like what I was thinking maybe she would go for. But instead, after a6, she goes knight here, and this is too greedy, trying to capture this guy. Because if you even do the calculation, after takes, you are still down a pawn, right? And now this is even sort of like worse for you, because all the pieces are defending it and you can't really add up to the defense here. And that's basically what happens in the game. And unfortunately, this is how the game transpires, and we end up losing. I was really hoping for Mod to win this. I was really heartbroken when she lost this game. I was hoping for the draw, and I think we could have got the draw, but I mean, she did well against a 2000 women's international master. That was an impressive play, and I was very happy for Mod with the way she played. I think she played high level. I mean, knowing how I've known her. Again, I think I have to recalibrate my thoughts about all of them, because they seem to be playing out of their minds. The next game is another interesting game between Clinton and Sadek Samer. Clinton plays as white as well. I don't know why my names aren't changing there, but Clinton is playing as white. We have d4, d5, c4, c6, the Slav defense. Now, I've realized recently that Clinton plays this. Okay, it might not be his main opening, but it's something I think he's learning these days. We have knight c3. These, what do you call it? e3, which is a line. I was wondering if e4 could have been played, but then we have this interesting structure, or this interesting position, and all this is, you could call it theory. b4, knight e4, queen d5, knight d2, bishop a6, and you could play here knight to e2, which is what I was kind of expecting. Or knight. I was looking at knight e2 because of e4. Throughout the coverage, I was trying to wonder if e4 could be played. And here we have queen to c2, c3, takes, and we get this position where white is slightly better. Why would you consider white slightly better? White can become a little bit more active quickly and cause issues for black as compared to what black can do. King is stuck in the center, and it might be a little bit difficult to develop these pieces. Yes, white also can't castle, but white is completely fine. You can get your knight in, play this, and then all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting to see how Clinton would continue in this position. So we have knight to f6, bishop to a3, now making it a little bit harder to play this e6 move, right? Because your opponent is just going to trade and you lose your ability to castle. And now we are in sort of like equal playing field. Knight b to d7, knight to e2, rook c8, knight to f4, queen f5, knight d3, knight d5. And as simple as this position looks, there's only one move that Clinton can make here. Because if you go, for example, let's say g4, attacking the queen, knight takes e3, and I did not see this move. I honestly did not see this move, because now your king has to go in here, and this one is a little bit confusing, because yes, this is what happens, right? Your king is now unsafe in the center, but it's not so easy to know how to attack. Maybe you are going to go g6 with this first. It just feels like black is in a lot of trouble, right? It just feels like white is in a lot of trouble. That's one of the things. And obviously, if you go the other way, this way, you're still getting hit with this, right? It's just too much stuff you have to think about. So Clinton actually finds the only move here, which is the move I was talking about since the beginning of this game. He plays e4. e4, we have knight takes, pawn push. You don't take immediately. You develop, knight jumps back, takes, pawn push. Your king is now safe. Develop the rooks, and now we get into this position where now black has also solved his problems. Black no longer has the back rank issues that he used to have. His pieces are also developed. So you could give this like an evenish evaluation. And here is where things get interesting, because we immediately start to go for the end game. Here I was briefly thinking that, okay, maybe Clinton could have gone this way, but it's a whole convoluted line here, which I don't know if Clinton would have wanted to go in for this line, because you go bishop h6, you go here, then you go, I think, a4 here, then you have bishop here, then I'm trying to remember the engine lines that we saw here. It was some crazy lines. I think there was something about g4, some crazy lines here. So a4, I think maybe when you consider it, you're like, okay, so it's a bit too complex, so I don't want to go for it. So instead we have this line where Clinton sacrifices a pawn and goes for active play. His plan here was to, for example, get the knight, if he could, to this square, put pressure on his opponents over there. We have a trade of rooks. I love this, sacrificing another pawn, and now he has disconnected all of his opponent's pawns. Now all his pawns are islands. They don't have another pawn that can defend them. So regardless of, despite the fact that Clinton is down 2 pawns, it's going to be very difficult to coordinate them because they can only be defended by pieces, right? So very interesting and very good play by Clinton here. We have knight to a5, targeting the pawn. King comes in, bishop comes in. And here we have some developing moves. And then Clinton makes the move to get this pawn. Now, if Clinton can deal with these 2 pawns and everything is isolated to one side of the board, similar to Mod's game, this is easily a draw, right? Don't forget, Clinton is down 2 pawns and these pawns are passed. but because of course they are isolated pawns, it's easier to deal with them, but you have to be careful. The second beautiful thing is that his bishop is stuck in with his pawn. So these 2 pawns make it hard for him to do anything. If this bishop could become free, then he has something going for him. So we have bishop here. King comes into d3. King goes in this way. And I like what Clinton did. I was rushing, saying, oh, try taking this, deal with this some way, somehow, like do something about the position. Maybe even come in here and take it. At least you've dealt with 1 pawn. But I like Clinton's patience here. And now we get bishop to this square. Again, you want to get this bishop active if you could. So that's what his opponent is actually trying to do. And now we have the move h4, trying, like, really preventing it. I think if you go here, he just goes pawn push. You just don't want to get this bishop free, right? Once this bishop is free, then there are problems for you. So bishop goes back, trading, trying to trade off. Clinton says no. Knight takes, knight takes. Yes, now the bishop is free, but now it's a sort of different issue because now I have 2 passed pawns and I can also create threats for you. We have a5, king to d3, brilliant play by Clinton. We have e5, which I actually did not calculate here. I was thinking immediately you want to go this way. You have then h4, so that after knight moves to f3, you can even at some point maybe bring the knight here and stuff, right? Yeah, but that's not what happened here. We'll have to speed up the analysis a bit. Don't want to keep these videos long. And here we have king to c4. Now everything is guarded. Now this is a fine position. This is an equal position. This is almost a draw, right? This is almost a draw. Clinton has done everything that he needs to do to get this position. It's almost a draw. We have a4 here, and in this position, Clinton has to find the move g4. Just waste the move because your opponent, give the move back to your opponent, right? Because your opponent really can't do like much, because if the king moves away, you're going to try something with these guys. If the king tries to stay on your knight, if the king tries to stay on the knight, we can just keep on repeating the positions, right? But I understood what happened. Clinton here plays knight to h4, and now it's completely over. You can't hold the position. Let's look at this. So after a4, if you play this move and your opponent continues this agenda, you can easily deal with this pawn. So that doesn't make any sense, right? If the king tries to what's the word, stay, or tries to come in here to maybe help in the defense some way, somehow, you have knight here, right? And if you go back, now my knight is coming free, right? My knight is coming free. I can deal with your pawns. That is what Clinton has to find. So the king cannot leave this knight to go scot-free. The king cannot leave the knight to go scot-free on this square. So the king would have to keep coming back to the knight, and that's a draw, right? So that was what Clinton had to find. But then again, you notice that if you play this move, if you have a linear sort of thinking, maybe you're tired or you like something, you might think, okay, this is the only square I can go to. If I play this, my knight can no longer join in the position. If that's what you are seeing, then maybe that's what would cause it. I don't know what, like here, I like, actually the engine is giving us a funny move here, g5, because g5, then you take this guy and now your knight is free again. It's so interesting. It's so interesting. Like, this position was so nice, and Clinton, I think, did very well, because moves I thought he wouldn't see, he saw. But this move is what lost him the game. Why does this lose in the game? Yes, I take the bishop, we trade off the pieces, but these are isolated pawns which the king can take care of. Your king alone cannot deal with these 2 threats, right? And I can just spend my time, right? So okay, I go in this way. What are you going to do? Pawn push here doesn't work, right? Because I just take. So you have to delay with your king. I'm going to come in here. Like, how are you going to deal with this? I'm just going to just gobble up all your pawns and then end of the game. And that is why in this position, Clinton resigned the game, losing again for a loss again for Ghana, right? So I like these games because I was very happy to see the growth of the players. I really enjoyed the games, But again, we were trying to go for more, or maybe we missed one or two things because of maybe. I mean, these games are very long. I stream for about 4.5 hours, right? So I mean, it makes sense. Now to the final game between Ganes IM, Akwanda, and Karim. Let me just save myself. So Akwanda is playing as white, I think, in this game. Yeah. So we have the Karukan, and we get this variation where both players just trade into this drawish end game, right? And you guys know how much I hate this end game, right? It's a drawish end game. But there are chances for like both. There if you don't think about chances, there are chances. For example, black can go for a minority attack, create a weak backward pawn, set the rook on that backward pawn, and create like targets and all that kind of stuff. But more or less, it's just a drawish position here. We have bishop to b5, we have c3, e6, sort of like a reverse Carlsbad, castles kingside, f6, and then rook f to e1. Funny enough, this harmless, normal looking developing move, I pressed that key too fast, puts Hasford in trouble. Here, after f6, you should just play h4 and prevent any funny business. But I think Hasford overlooks it and simply goes here. And his opponent comes at him for it. He goes g5, if h5, now h3, and you can see the problems. This knight has no viable like things they can do. This knight is absolutely useless. You have to reroute this knight, and it seems like the play can only like it's only black that has play here. Now, after h4, bishop h7, king f7. King f7 I even felt was a little bit slow. I was hoping. Okay, that sounds bad to say hoping because it's like I'm supporting Ghana, but it's like I'm hoping. But I like good ideas, and I was hoping for this idea of like b5, going for this, like I said, minority attack, weakening the pawn structure here. Right, that was kind of the mindset I was hoping for. Let me put it in that sense, because like if you start with a5, you get hit with a4, and now b4 can't be played. That's why you start with b5, right? So I was kind of expecting that kind of move to come from black, but black goes king f7, which is fine. And now I like what white does here. He tries to remaneuver his knight to a square that possibly has potential. Rook c8, knight to f1, bishop to e7, and it's here you should really play like b5. You should really play like b5 because you are really opening things up. If you can get your rook to this square, it's a great position. But again, it's understandable. You want to connect your rooks, you want to make something, you want to coordinate your pieces well. That makes sense. So now we have knight to e3, bishop to g6, and a move from like I did not see this move from anywhere. f4. Akwanda plays this move f4, and it begins to open up so many chances because you can't really ignore this. Now you can't play b4 because after takes, now you really have to think about your position, right? And you can't even ignore it, right? You can't even just say, okay, I want to ignore it, because you are opening more stuff, right? You're opening more stuff. Again, the reason you might say you want to do this is because you want to bring off your rooks here. So f4 is a good move. Like I really like this f4 move. It really does. It really is really cool. So now we have g takes, bishop takes, bishop to e4, knight to g4, and finally he plays the move b5. Okay, this is the plan you would have wanted to go for. a3, king to e7. This move confused me. My initial thought was that maybe he wants to get his king to support whatever offense he has here. We have rook to e3, rook to g8, rook to e2, rook to g6, knight to e3, f5, and now we see that what he's actually trying to do is to switch the attack from here to attacking here, playing on both sides of the board. That's something skilled players do. And he immediately switches. He's like, okay, you thought I was going to attack here, no more. I'm now going to attack you on the king side. So we have king to h2, king d7, rook d1, rook cg8, and then g4. Striking, right? Hasford is like, okay, if I just leave this to chance, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. So let's just play this move and try and defend. Like, let's try and hold the position. And here we have bishop to f3, which actually messes up the position. Now, I can't really explain the intricacies, but the engine preferred the king coming closer to this position. That's what the engine preferred. I can't really explain it, but that's what it preferred. But because of this position that we went, that black went for, white gets this position where he's holding a draw again, right? We have another position where we can hold off a draw, and for a moment I was a little bit scared that we couldn't hold the draw, but then eventually we reached this position where I mean, we just keep repeating the moves with the knight. Once we win this pawn, there's nothing more for black to do. We just keep dilly-dally, shilly-shallying, and then eventually this game ends in a draw. So of all the 8 games we played today, we only drew 1 and lost the rest. Again, we played strong countries. First day, first pairings, you are paired with people far stronger than you. And we are hoping for good games tomorrow. So guys, like I said, you can watch the stream tomorrow, 1 p.m. GMT, on YouTube or on Twitch, twitch.tv/pen_Mason. And I'll be covering it with a friend, Brandon, who's also a YouTuber or a streamer. Sorry, who's also a streamer, not a YouTuber. And yeah, you can join us and let's have a great time chatting chess moves, I guess. Okay, have a great one. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.